What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 4th&15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel, and joining me as always is Ronnie, Big Smooth Hennigan. Smooth, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot, Mel. I'll tell you what, man. This weekend, this is what is saving my life right now, bro. What's going on with you?
What? You know what? I'll drink to that.
Man.
I'm gonna just leave it at that. I'm gonna drink to that. But aside from that, do got a little bit of news for you. For those that I don't talk to, and for those that are wondering, yes, it is true. Lutheran West won the Metro Division in the CVC this past Friday, as we pretty much beat on we beat on Independence in the second half, and yeah, it was the difference the second half makes. That's how I'll say that. The difference two halves make. The first half it
That's
was looking bleak. In the second half, the seniors took leadership, and they stepped up and put the team on their back. So, shout out to Eddie, shout out to Jack, Manny, Medina, Torres, all those guys, because they definitely deserved it. It's the
that's
first
awesome, man.
time. Yeah, it's the first time since '05, I believe, when they were still in the old what is that? The old Pac 8 or something like that, the old Pac conference. So yeah, it was well deserved. It was well deserved. Coaching staff, Coach Perella, Coach Malin, those guys, we all got together and got these guys ready for this. So now we moving on to Painesville Harvey.
Ooh, okay. All right, man. Keep us posted on that, bro.
I got you, man. I got you. But I will say this: our JV did a hell of a job Saturday morning too, man.
Hmm.
That was some of the best football they've played all season. Like as a team, as a complete unit, they were awesome. Offense, defense, special teams. Everybody got. I think we got a touchdown on all three. If not all three, we came
Nice.
real close. So shout out to Coach Pie on that one. Is he was calling the plays. Me and Coach Eck, we just sat there looking good on the sideline.
Hey, man, everybody put that work in some way, shape, or form. It's just good to hear I got the W.
Yeah. All right. Let's get this started. As we saw Saturday, in the world of college football, anything is possible. And clearly, number two fell as Iowa. They shit the bed against Purdue of all people. Of all people, you lose against Purdue. How?
Man,
Why?
they got their number, man. Because when they were talking about it before the game, and they were like, "Oh, they won three of the last four." I'm like, three of the last four. I was like, "Oh, okay." Even
Yeah, that's
regardless
what
of
I
how the
said.
team's been, I'm like, "Ugh." So I don't like
Yeah,
that when I heard that.
that's what I said. Like when you told me that, I'm like, three of the last four. Like, wait a minute, how does that even work?
Yeah,
Like,
and this is
how do you
regardless of whatever team Purdue had. You know what I mean? Like three of the
exactly
last
like
four.
how do you and theoretically Iowa was supposed to be better than Purdue. So how does that even work?
Right, and especially seeing this year how everything's been going and how up and down Purdue has been, and then you're playing in Iowa. I'm like, you're at
Yeah.
home. You think,
How do you
yeah, man.
how do you lose that one?
Even
So with
Saturday.
that, so with that, the current poll that was out this morning, Iowa drops to 11th. They dropped nine
Ugh.
spots to 11th. Meanwhile, the dark horse in the race, Cincinnati, moves up to number two over Oklahoma, who's at number three.
Mm,
And of
mm.
course, that team down south in Alabama is number four. And rounding out five, six, and seven are all
Man,
Big Ten teams, who actually rounding out five through 10 are four Big Ten teams and a Pac 12 team and a Big 12 team. So Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Oklahoma State, Michigan State, and Oregon round out the rest of the top 10.
Mm.
And ironically, four out of those five teams in the top bottom half of the top 10 have to see each other within the next month. So the question I have
Exciting.
to you,
Hmm.
it is. But the question I have to you is, does Ohio State get in within the next month, or are we banking on Cincinnati to be that quote unquote bracket buster?
I feel like if Cincinnati wins out, right, I think they'll be in there. I think the only issue is the rest of the schedule is just, AAC opponents and, of course, the championship as well. So I think based off of that, of course, the body of work is there, but just the way that the, committee looks at this crap, they're going to drop them down to probably like 3 or 4, just because of the matches they have rest of the year, which I think is a snub. I think that's terrible. I don't think they'll keep them at 2. But I think they'll make it. I think they'll be in there as long as they win out and win their conference. I think they'll be in there for sure. But I will say this: Ohio State definitely has a chance to get in. They're at 5 now, and all they got to do is just win the Big Ten. I mean, that's all that really has
Well,
to happen. But then you
truth be
got them,
told,
or
I was
actually, it
just
could
not
be a
to cut.
situation where it could be two. It could be two Big Ten teams this year, possibly.
Now
Maybe.
here's where I wanted to cut you off because I was looking at this as we're talking, and
Yeah.
everybody that Ohio State has to finish seeing in the division is currently ranked in the top 10.
Hmm.
So outside of the Michigan State game in like 2 weeks, everybody should still be in the top 10. Ohio State has Indiana next week, and Penn State has got Michigan coming up, and then Michigan State has Michigan as well. So everybody is literally still in the top 10 for the time being. And by the time Ohio excuse me, by the time Ohio State sees at least one of these teams, somebody's looking at a 7-8 win team, eight win, record by the time that happens. Mind you, uh, Oklahoma still has to see Oklahoma State.
True.
And Oklahoma State just, dominated Texas again for the second time in like 3 years.
Hmm.
So this top four could change. Now, mind you, Alabama don't see anybody till Auburn, which that game could go either way. And Auburn is ranked 19th, and they still got to see Georgia in the championship game. Now, assuming Georgia survives the Florida game, they got nobody else to worry about really outside of Georgia Tech. This could turn out to be real interesting because, like I said, everybody in the Big Ten East still has to see each other within the next month.
Hmm. True.
Cincinnati has to see Navy, which is giving them problems, even though Cincinnati has pretty much dominated that series for the most part. Uh, I'm not putting my hopes up on Oregon. It's
Nah,
just
nah, don't even. And they lost some key players for the rest of the year too, man. I don't see that
yeah.
happening.
And on top of that, Michigan State still has to see Michigan.
Hmm.
So, two of these teams are going to drop out. So it's really up to It's really up to Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State. I just with with the way Michigan State's been playing, you let Rutgers stay in the game. It's not something I trust. And on top of that, Cincinnati can cruise after the Navy game all the way up to the championship. They'll probably end up seeing either SMU or Tulsa again.
Hmm.
Oklahoma, I want to say they're in, but it's still sketchy. Plus, like I said, you got to see Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's been playing very well. And Alabama don't see anybody till Auburn. And then even then, assuming Georgia beats Alabama this year, there's a two-loss Alabama. I want to give the voting committee the benefit of the doubt, but for whatever reason, if Alabama does come out with 2 losses, I still think they may give them the 4th spot.
You know, I think the only issue there is part of it is like you said, the teams that are in the top 10 are shifting every single week. You got four of them on the same side of one conference. And
Mm-hmm.
then in addition to that, even though Iowa dropped down to 11, they still have to play out the rest of that schedule, right? So you still got another, 5 games or whatever it is. And then possibly, well, the way it's looking right now on that side of the conference, I mean, there's still a game ahead of Purdue, even after losing. So
Right.
with that, you figure Hawkeyes are 3-1 on that side of the conference. Purdue's 2-1. If Iowa finishes out the rest of the season and wins those games, and then they're in the Big Ten championship, and let's say by some miracle they win the Big Ten, because I don't see them beating OSU. I don't see them beating, Michigan State if they make it. It's just like if they win that though, then that would give them an argument to get in to the playoff, depending on how it works out for the Big 12. Because I feel like this year it could be a situation where the way the top 10 looks right now, we may finally see for the first time possibly two Big Ten teams in the playoff. That hasn't happened yet. We've seen two SEC teams in there. I think this might be the year we actually get to see two Big Ten teams in there for the first time. I think that's very
Yeah,
possible.
but the question is, who goes in? Is it Ohio State and Michigan because they play on both on the same side? Everybody in the West has at least one loss, and right about now, it's
Mm-hmm.
looking like Iowa will be that team that Ohio State ends up seeing, even with the loss to Purdue, because they pretty much have that one loss. Everybody else is looking at maybe 2 or 3.
I have that answer. So let's think about it this way. If you have Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, which Michigan State is up top now because they've had 4 games on the side of the conference. So they're 4-0, everybody else is 3-0 between the other two teams. Here's a scenario. The only way I believe that happens is if for some reason Michigan State were to win out and win the Big Ten, they would get in, and then one of the other 3 teams in the Big Ten would be in behind because they would have one loss. That's the only way that works. Now, the problem here, though, is if you get, let's say, Ohio State and they win, they already have a loss, they win the Big Ten. I think that messes up the other chances of the other Big Ten teams getting in for that reason. Because the problem is you're going to have an undefeated Big Ten team in the top 4 in order to welcome another one-loss Big Ten team. I think that's the only way it works.
Very true. Very true.
That's it.
Now,
So
now,
yeah,
now,
that's my answer.
mind you, uh, the remaining Ohio State schedule goes as such. They have Indiana on the 23rd, Penn State
Mm-hmm.
after that, Nebraska on the 6th. Purdue is ranked 25 now. Go fucking figure.
Man,
Michigan is ranked ninth, and Michigan State's ranked ninth, and Michigan's number 6. So that's the remaining schedule for Ohio State. Now, I think in that scenario, what would really happen be with this playing out the way that we think it's going to play out?
mm-hmm.
I think Ohio State gets in between 3 and 4 just because within the next month, 4 out of their 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 out of their remaining 6 opponents are
Mm-hmm.
currently ranked.
True.
And as we all know, the committee does factor in quality wins. And if you're beating top 10 opponents
Mm-hmm.
or even top 25 opponents, that holds a lot of weight. And I I want to say Cincinnati will hold firm at number 2, but the AAC is just not strong enough to have
No.
the backing. Like
Yeah.
currently right now, Houston is 5-1. SMU is 6-0.
Hmm.
So SMU is ranked 21st. Houston isn't ranked, but if Houston can somehow jump in the top 25, that's still by the time they see each other, it gives them a quality win before they see SMU. So it may be where does Cincinnati really fall? I still think I'm sticking with my original assumption in the fact that I still think that this will essentially maybe hold off Cincinnati joining the Big 12. Maybe it stirs up some controversy, and we look forward to seeing what that does later on in the season or in the off season.
True.
But as of right now, I'm 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 still sticking with Ohio State because Ohio State has a very good shot.
Hmm.
Like I said, 4 out of their 6 remaining opponents are ranked in the top 10 and slash top 25. So there is a very good shot for Ohio State to maybe jump Cincinnati that in that number 2 spot. They'll
Oh
have
yeah, for sure.
they'll have 3, maybe 4 quality wins plus the Big Ten championship on their side. So we'll see, and let's hope for the best out of all of it.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, because I mean, you figure having once again another Big 12 team in the mix is what really is stirring this up a lot too. I feel like with Oklahoma being up there, what makes it easier for Cincinnati is if Oklahoma State can beat Oklahoma before the Big 12 championship, because I feel like they'll see each other again in that game.
Yeah, yeah,
So if Oklahoma State can beat them before that, I feel like that definitely solidifies Cincy where they are. They may drop down a spot, like you said. A Big Ten team goes into two, you know, and then whoever wins well, not whoever. If Oklahoma wins the Big 12, even with a loss, they end up being like the fourth team. But I feel like it depends on that too. These teams got to win out. The ones that's undefeated need to win out. That's really what it looks like. If you want to see
yeah.
like something real special. But when it comes to like the one losses and everybody having one losses, and then Cincinnati, let's say, go undefeated, that's when it gets a little trickier. But we'll see how it plays out, man. It's exciting either way because it's like finally you get
It is.
a good
It
rotation of
is.
some teams, and then seeing a group of five finally in the mix. You know what I mean? Which we've been waiting on forever. So that's been cool to see that happen finally, man. But it's just funny because all that stuff that we were hoping for at the beginning of the year and seeing how much different we thought the Pac-12 was looking, and then they just fell apart after 2 weeks. 2 weeks, bro. It took
Man,
2 weeks and just
we already know
completely
this, bro.
dismantled everything. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, scratch that. And it's funny because like even with Oregon getting that win earlier in the season, it's doing
It
nothing.
still ain't nothing. It's
It
doing
still ain't
nothing.
doing nothing for them. It's so funny because now the team you beat is still ranked higher than you again for the second time this year.
I think I
Just
think
saying.
with that, since you brought that up,
That's funny.
I don't think that this alliance or merger or whatever it is gonna end up being. I don't think this works out in the Pac-12's favor because
Nah,
let's
no,
look
it don't.
let's look at the reality here. The reality is the Big Ten overall as a conference, and
Hmm.
I know somebody's going to disagree with this, but it's to me, it's reality. The Big Ten is highly stronger than the Pac-12. Here's why I'm saying this. What other signature win does a Pac-12 team have over anybody else in the country?
Hmm. Nobody.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the only
exactly.
one this whole year, and the only significant wins they had was against each other when Stanford beat Oregon. That was it.
And
Outside of that, but that's in
that was
conference
what
though.
killed it. That was what killed it. That was what killed
Yep.
it right there. You win
Yep.
against, and Oregon does this every year. You win
Hmm.
against a good team that you're not supposed to beat, but you end up beating, and you get in the conference play and you look like shit.
Yep.
I don't understand that. You came in and soundly beat Ohio State. You didn't just dominate. You ran away with that game. So you run away with the
Literally ran.
game against Ohio State. You
Hmm.
get in the conference play. You see Stanford, who you haven't had the best luck against, but you squeaked out a couple here and there, and all of a sudden you look like shit against a subpar opponent, and boom, your season's over. Your season,
Crazy.
you are literally hoping for the Rose Bowl. I don't
Exactly.
understand. I don't understand how or why you get to this point where you're supposed to be the team. You're supposed to dominate your conference, and then you get into conference play and nothing looks good for you.
It just doesn't make any sense because, at the end of the day, if you ever want to be considered to be in the playoff or to have any kind of success, you got to get to your conference. You can't just be like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm gonna just, do these one-offs where I'm gonna knock off this big team that everybody think I ain't supposed to beat, and then all of a sudden I get to my conference play and I'm barely squeaking by. That's so backwards, man. That's so backwards for anybody at any conference, anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be able to handle your conference's schedule. You can't do that, man. You're not gonna survive. That's that's crazy to me, man. Like all that hype just went out the window, gone, completely gone.
It usually looks that way. It
You got
usually
lucky,
looks that way.
man.
All right, so I want to take before we leave college football, I want to take a little trip to Division 3,
Mm,
where, as we were speaking about it last week, the Ohio Athletic Conference. We already know who's leading that conference because I actually just watched that game yesterday, where they just took the Capital Comets, no longer the Crusaders, to the woodshed. And not only did they take them to the shed, I think they left them there. It was I think they said the third shutout in the last 3 weeks.
mm,
So it was 63 to nothing or something like that.
wow.
Now, um, I'm looking at everything else as far as Ohio teams are concerned, where they are, who they're playing. And I keep coming across the North Coast Athletic Conference and I believe it's the President's Conference. So Case Western and pretty much any team in the North Coast Conference, being Denison, Ohio Wesleyan, Worcester, Kenyon, and Hiram and Oberlin, are
Hmm.
all doing bad. All there.
Very bad.
Well, let me rephrase that. Denison's doing very well. Ohio Wesleyan's right behind Denison at number 4 in the conference, and then you got Worcester, who's middle of the road. Kenyon's trying to hang on. Hiram, yeah, and Oberlin is around the same year. So, are we maybe it's just me? Are we should we head for a Ohio Super Conference in Division 3?
I would like that a lot, actually. The way it's broken up right now, it's just like, man, look, you got these teams where there's a small pocket of them that are going to continue dominating these other teams. You got another little pocket that's struggling, right? But I feel like you put them all together, that helps out the recruiting of some of those other ones because the teams like Mount Union, whether it be John Carroll or whoever else, is going to get those guys. And then you have other teams like, let's say, BWKs, whoever, that might get a few here and there, but it's always going to be like Mount Union at the top. And I think that if you have them all playing each other, it's a little bit different because, like, oh, I get to see them, because sometimes that's a draw too as well when it comes to recruiting is people aren't always going to go with the one that is winning all the time because it may not see the field. But if you go to a team that you know is going to face them, oh, it's my time to shine because this other team, I know they're going to use me. And if I can ball out against them, that's going to look especially good. That's how some people's angle is. So you figure it goes both ways. Having that, I said, I feel like would be a big case for a larger, like, or just collective Ohio-based conference like that, to where it's like you get easier travel, obviously,
Hmm.
and you have a few teams here and there outside of it, maybe that you got to go to, but not the way it is right now. And then it just does a lot for the communities or for the local people to really get behind it. I think it will get a lot of support, actually, a whole lot of support, a lot more
You know
attention.
what? I'm agreeing with that because let's call it what it is. I don't think Hiram has won. I don't think they've won the conference in the last 10 years or even come close.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And as Glenn, because I know we had him on the show a while back. Glenn, I'm sorry, but nobody takes a fighting terrier seriously. Ever since you left, it's been bad, man. It's been bad. So let's look into that a little bit more as it goes on because I'm with you on this one. I would really like to see something like that because in Ohio,
Hmm.
I think that would boost the competition a little more. And I think that this would actually, uh, I think that this would boost the OAC as being the top conference to play in D3. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would like to see something of that nature.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down with that too. And just because we're talking about Division Three, I was taking a look here at the rankings for the top 25. Um, it looks like the top five teams held where they were previous week. So Mount Union's in the mix there, number four. Wisconsin Whitewater, who we talked a lot about over the past year or so, is at three. Right now, leading it is North Central. All those teams are 5-0, and of course, they've had very, very significant wins. It's showing Mount Union put a beating on Outervine, 55-0, and then of course, Wisconsin Whitewater. They had to face another Wisconsin team, which was Stout, and they beat them 37-6. So the thing is, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge at first, obviously, because right now you figure these like rankings are all dominated pretty much by Wisconsin teams. But it'll be interesting just to see like what that looks like if it is mixed up, or we do have like an actual, you know, super like Ohio conference. Definitely all for that. Oh, and by the way, it shows John Carroll just got in top 25 at 25, even though at three
Nice.
and two, they weren't ranked last week, so they had a decent win against Muskegon 29-7. So it's looking pretty good, man.
Nice, nice, nice. All right. So we'll keep an eye on that and we'll move on to that. Okay. I wasn't gonna start this yet, but it's been blowing up my phone for whatever reason. And it's come to my attention that the Lakers went goose egg in the preseason. And with the new additions to the Lakers, Russell Westbrook and AD still there, LeBron's still there. With them going 0-6, is there a cause for concern in the preseason? Like they're going 0-6 in the preseason. Are you hitting the panic button? Are you worried at all?
I'm not really worried about it. I feel like right now they're trying to find, that synergy because when you have that many all stars or former all stars on your team, the problem is you got to figure out how that works together, right? Trying to find their niche. So you figure LeBron and AD have a chemistry already. Um, Carmelo and Westbrook have a chemistry already from when they were in OKC together. They even had a little weird inbound thing that they do with the. It's strange, man. So for those who don't know, they'll have a tip off, right? I'll be real quick. They'll have a tip off, and then from there, what happens is Carmelo will get it, and he'll like roll it underneath his legs, and then Westbrook picks it up and he does some kind of weird like jump spin dribble thing, and then he kind of like gallops across the. It's weird. I don't know where that came from,
I'm gonna leave that
but
alone.
that's a little ritual. You know what I mean? Apparently, it's not working anymore because how the preseason's going. Maybe I should stop. Just saying. But I feel like if LeBron and Melo can get on the same page, because you got to remember the only interaction they've had with each other on the court is the Olympics. Actually,
Mm,
they were on the Olympic team together a couple times. Outside of that, like they've never been on the same side of the conference. When it came to All Star games, because Carmelo was
right.
usually out in the West primarily, and then LeBron was in the East, right? And then of course when Melo was with the Knicks, he didn't make it. So they never had that ability to play together. People always wanted to
Very
see it.
true.
Was like, oh,
Very true.
we should bring all these arguments about, oh, we should bring Carmelo to Cleveland, this and that, blah blah blah, blah when LeBron was here, whatever. And it's just funny
But
seeing them on
but
the actual team together right now.
but
It's late,
not not
but
should yeah. I was gonna say, is it too little, too late? Like they both
it
up
might
in
be.
age.
It might be. Like it's just different because you're thinking LeBron is still, for the most part, pretty dominant, right? He hasn't really slowed down as much. Melo, on the other hand, definitely plays a different game from what he did, 15 years ago. You figure he's shooting a little bit more. He's not going to paint as hard, stuff like that, trying to preserve. Not to the point where he's cutting minutes or something like that, but you can definitely tell he's altered his game a little bit to
I
promote
mean,
longevity,
I will say,
right?
yeah. When you get up in age, you gotta take that in consideration,
Right.
just a little
And the
bit.
thing is, and he's not one of the players where, because LeBron has set this standard for him where it's like, look, I'm gonna drop that $1 million or whatever it is a year to have the best conditioning, to have the right, food, and have a guy actually train me and keep me where I'm supposed to be at so I can perform at this level. A lot of players aren't really investing in themselves like that. They're just going with the regular, like, okay, I'm gonna do some, pro-ams and I'm gonna go on these random little leagues in the summer or whatever, the off season, just to keep my game speed up and drop a million points on guys that ain't gonna be in the league, whatever, get my confidence up. And then all of a sudden they come back to, training camp and their overall goal is, oh, am I in shape? Okay, yeah, I'm in shape. Cool. Okay, I'll just pick up where I left off. But you're like, bruh, I get it. Like if you've been in the league like 10, 12 years, you're thinking, oh, maybe I've hit my peak. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. Maybe not like by the naked eye, because if you get a guy like Carmelo, a guy like LeBron, you're like, okay, well, they'll keep doing what they do. There still may be a hole, some small hole in their game that we don't see or that we don't know about that the
Yeah,
coaches pick up on,
very
right?
yeah, very true.
And that's
Very
and
true.
that's always room for improvement because you figure if you're going to keep trying to be the best at what you do, you know, you're going to look to improve in some way. And it could be like, oh, you know what? Maybe when I go to the hole, I don't take the right angle. Even though I score, maybe I'm still taking the wrong angle. If I keep doing that, I could injure myself. Or maybe when I'm pulling up for these shots, I could be 6 inches too far over from where my rhythm is on versus when it's not. Just little tweaks like that because basketball is like that. You can have little tweaks like
Yeah,
that to figure out how to score more points or to have a higher percentage. It makes sense. Um, it's just different. So because you can lift all the weights you want to lift or not lift, whatever, but it's just about longevity and figuring out the game and being a little bit more mental about it. So I feel like with them, I don't think it's really a cause for concern yet. I was shocked how they did lose to the Nets because you figure with that one, that game had me a little like, okay, I don't know what happened there because it was 123-97, and they're not playing with Kyrie right now. And you're like, that made me a little concerned seeing that. Okay. The rest of them kind of like, yeah, whatever, but I don't think it's anything crazy yet. I just think they need to just kind of figure out how to rotate folks the right way, because you got what was it? You got Westbrook, you got Rondo, LeBron, AD, Carmelo, you know, old Dwight Howard up in there, and then the rest of them. Okay. So I don't know. As a coach, it's like that sounds great on paper. You're like, man, I got all these guys, you know. But what is your solid starting five look like? Do you have any of those dudes come off the bench every? Because they all not starting.
Mm,
They not. They not. You're
you
not
gotta
gonna have
think though.
Carmelo, AD, and Anthony. I'm sorry, Carmelo, AD, um, Bron, and Westbrook in the starting five every single game. You would think that? No. Bron your three. Bron is your three. Let's just Bron's your three. Period. You're not starting Carmelo over Bron. You're not. You're not. I don't care if it's young Bron, old Bron, whatever. You ain't starting Carmelo over Bron. Ain't happening. You got AD in the middle. You ain't starting Dwight Howard over AD. That's crazy, especially now. Maybe if it was
Yeah,
2010 when he's in Orlando, yes,
I
absolutely.
yeah,
But
yeah. You got a
that's
point.
what I'm
You got
saying,
a
man. It's a
point.
weird
You got a
rotation. You
point.
know what I mean? And then does Westbrook just play better with Melo because he has that familiarity?
I think
So it's
so.
almost like do you bring Westbrook off the bench then? Does he start? I don't because him and LeBron have not figured it out yet. They haven't. It's gonna take some time with those two. They don't have the experience either. It's weird. It's just weird right now. Just, if I'm in practice, oh yeah, we're gonna figure this out, blah blah, whatever. And game time situation, man, they just gotta figure that synergy out. I hope it happens sooner than later. If it keeps happening like this, yeah, I'll be concerned. If it's like the next four games and they still haven't got a dub yet, I'm a little worried then. Yeah.
Honestly, and I'm gonna leave it at this because this was clearly this was the biggest story in basketball for the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My personal opinion is I don't think this is a problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being is the key factor that you mentioned was LeBron. Now, for those that watch, are gonna watch, just keep in mind we don't care either way because, and I'm not saying we don't care about basketball or anything like that. I'm just saying we don't care about the LeBron factor because we clearly know what LeBron can do.
Right.
We've seen
Okay.
it here in Cleveland. We've seen it in Miami. We've seen it again in Cleveland. And now we're seeing it in LA. So clearly, we as basketball fans and basketball observers, we already know. And the biggest thing about this is LeBron has shown he can play with anybody. It just takes time.
True.
Like him and Dwayne Wade was best friends. He went down to Miami. They got Chris Bosh. They ended up winning two rings. He comes back. Let's leave, let's leave fat. Let's rewind a bit. He had Darius Miles, Carlos Boozer,
Oh my God.
Eric Snow,
Oh my
Larry
God.
Hughes, Danielle Marshall, and Z. So if that don't show you he can play with anybody,
It still
if that
blows my
don't
mind.
if that don't show you he can play with anybody and literally take the worst team in the Eastern Conference
Hmm.
on paper, because they were actually better than people gave him credit for. But on paper, this team looked like shit. So if he can take that team to the NBA Finals, even though they got beat on by a far superior San Antonio Spurs team,
Yes, that team was
if
nasty.
if he can take them guys to the finals, that should show you automatically he can play with anybody. It's just gonna have to take time. Now, in
And
this scenario, is granted that everybody's clearly up in age, but I think that there is going to be a a point where some of those guys are going to say, okay, we're going to have to find out what we can do that helps him and what he can do that helps us.
hmm absolutely. And then,
Be
you know, here's another thing with regards to this team, right? we're talking about like these guys being put together and trying to figure out, you know, how they all work together and whatnot. This actually, too, if I'm not mistaken, is the oldest team in the NBA as well.
There
Because
you
you
go.
figure LeBron is a year ahead of, sorry, Carmel's a year ahead of LeBron. You know, they were drafted the
Hmm.
same year. He's a year ahead of him. So he's 37 years old out there, right? You got Trevor Ariza, who is back, right? 36. And you got Rondo 35, Dwight Howard 35. I forgot DeAndre Jordan joined them. He's 33 years old, you know, and then Westbrook's crossing 32. So you figure the only people that are still dominant that are under the age of 30 is AD. He's 28, probably 29. You know what I'm saying? This is the oldest team in the NBA. That does play a factor because no matter how good you are, your body at some point is like, look, I know you want to be out here sprinting on the hardwood, back and forth doing suicides and all that kind of stuff, right? I know you want to be playing 42 minutes. Let me tell you what you're going to do this season. You're going to play about 28 minutes. You're not sprinting like that. You're not jumping as high as you did. Figure out that jump shot. Don't body up too much, right? Keep the calcium and magnesium flowing. Just saying. Hate to say that. Outside LeBron, because I don't know what he's doing. That dude is a machine. But the thing is, is everybody doing what he's doing? No, absolutely not. You know what I mean? So the wear and tear
Yeah.
is there, man. These guys have all been through some battles because all those different names I talked about in the older category, they've all been in big playoff games,
Big everything.
championships, big like even like because Rondo, he's with that Celtics team that gave us issues, right? So you have him, Dwight Howard when they knocked off the Cavs in 2010. I mean, Anthony's had that experience as well. He got a chance to play with Iverson. You know what I'm saying? Like he's been around for a minute. It's just like these guys have a lot of experience, a lot of
Yeah,
experience, and went deep into the season. Mileage, man, mileage.
I agree. I agree. I just think that this is going to be one of
It's the
those
year to do
years
it, though.
where I wasn't even going to say that. I was just going to say this is going to be one of those years where LeBron, I'm not going to say LeBron has to take a step back and evaluate what he's got. I'm going to say
Hmm.
that this is a year where everybody got to sit down at the table and just be like, look, this may or may not be our last ride. What y'all like? What we gonna do?
Hmm.
What are we gonna do? And you know, like I said, LeBron and Melo have a good relationship. LeBron and AD have a good relationship. I think, I think that some point before it gets too far into the season, that sit down will happen sooner rather than later.
Hmm.
And this is gonna be a scary Lakers team. I honestly believe that, just because one, like you said, the age and experience is there. Um, there's going to be some type of common ground for everybody, to where everybody sits down, they look at themselves in the mirror, and it's just like, all right, we got to do this one way or another. This has to happen. And I really think that this is going to be that year, and it's going to be like very surprising that the Lakers might do it. They might see the Nets, because clearly on paper the Nets are the strongest team in the East.
Hmm.
Uh, I just I think that it's gonna be a I'm with y'all, but what y'all gonna do?
Exactly. Yeah, it's gonna be a show me something type of season, man. I look forward to it. It was good having the Bucks and the Suns in the finals. That was very exciting to see something different. They battled back and forth. That was cool. This year, I don't see them both getting there again, but who knows, man? We'll see what happens. But I'm excited about it. I think they'll figure it out. It's just a little rocky right now. And then you got to figure out what tempo you want to go because if you have Westbrook starting, got Braun at the 3, and then you got AD at the 5. They pushing that ball because the way
Yeah,
Westbrook play, he just high energy. But if you got
and
Rondo out
that's.
there, you're not pushing it the same way as Westbrook pushing
But you know what? That could work to an advantage because different tempos mean you got to play everybody different
it.
as a
Yep.
defense. So how do you even configure your team for that? Are you gonna just stay with the up tempo speed guys, or are you gonna play with the defense when Rondo's out, or are you gonna stay defensive, hoping you get a couple stops? I think that's gonna be interesting.
Yep. And that's what they got to figure out now. I think that's what the gap is right now, man. Just trying to figure out how to get a good rotation and balance that out. Because you can't just keep attacking. You know what
That's
I'm
true.
saying? You leave a lot of open shots on the other side of the court, or guys mismatched, or
Yeah,
a 4-on-2 situation because you got everybody over here still. You know what I mean? So
that's very man. I'm looking at this now. I want to see it. I
it's
want to
so
see
different.
how
Now
the
I gotta
floor.
watch it. Yeah, I gotta watch it now. Now I'm like, I gotta
Yeah,
check it out now. Yeah,
this might be the year I watch a whole season.
Me too. Me too. Me too, brother.
All right, moving on from basketball, we go to baseball, and we already in the championship series. Uh, Boston has tied the series against Houston after they beat on them 9-5 in Game Two. Game Three is tomorrow. It's hard to get behind this series because it's so much with everybody still thinking that the Astros are stealing signals and they win. But here's the thing: they win 5-4 in Game One, and
Hmm.
then you look up in Game Two, it's a 9-0 lead before Houston even scores one run. I, I think I think Boston is like riding a lot of momentum, and this could be scary for Houston because a lot of people did not expect Boston to be in here. They thought the Yankees were going to get in
True.
and ride and coast to the championship series. And here we are, it's Boston and Houston. And clearly, Boston is weathering the storm enough to tie the series at one apiece because we all know Houston got a hell of a pitching staff and Boston's bats are there. Like it's neck and neck. It's like right here.
Hmm.
So do you see this going seven or do you see Houston pulling it out?
Um, you know, it's hard to say. I feel like Houston definitely has the advantage. They've just been so good the last 3 or 4 years. I don't see them really letting up on that. You know, I think that Boston always has like something in the hat though. I think it could go 7. I'm banking probably more on 6 though, but it could possibly go 7. I'm not confident in that right now at all. But Boston just it's just different, man. They had that experience. They just I don't know. Whenever they get there, they figure it out. It's kind of strange because you've had some really dominant Boston teams in the past. This one kind of just rode it out for a little bit and just had this surge at the end of the season. And all of a sudden, they just clicking on all cylinders. And it's like it's scary to see. So I felt like going into this, um, that's the one team that I don't think Houston wanted to see in the playoffs, and they are now. So I think that's kind of why it is neck and neck the way it is. I feel like any other team, man, they would have closed it out yesterday. Um, so it's kind of 50-50 on that. You know what I mean? I think 6 games for sure. We could see a 7. Not confident in that though. Not
I'm
confident.
actually going to take the other road. I think this goes 7
Hmm.
because I think Boston's offense is strong enough. Like I said, Houston only pulled it out 5-4 and in game one, and they only and Boston put the bases loaded. They just
Mm.
struck out. So, they come back game two, the bats wake up, as Pedro Serrano would say, and they just take them to the shed. Now,
Yeah.
Games 3 and 4, keep in mind, games 3 and 4 are in Boston.
Oh man, the Green Monster. The
Yeah,
Green
actually,
Monster.
I take that back. Games 3, 4, and 5
Ah,
are in Boston according to the ESPN schedule. So games three,
ah,
four, and 5 are in Boston.
dang. You know, when
And
you
then,
said that, and we've seen this before. We've seen this before, especially as former Indians fans. We've seen this before with Boston. We know how they do, especially when you give them that much time in Boston.
yeah,
It's hard to win there, man, for anybody.
very
It's
hard.
freaking hard.
So,
Okay.
so
Ah,
I'm
dang. Now
I'm
that you said that, Game
I'm giving
seven.
Boston. Yeah, I'm giving Boston the edge in 7. I for some odd
Dang.
reason, and we all know I ain't a Boston fan. So, but to watch game 2 and to watch it play out the way that they did, I think they had like 4 or 5 home runs
Ooh.
in that game. It kind of wakes you up to this is the wrong type of time for Boston to want to wake up and snap out of looking like crap and still pulling the games out.
Hmm.
And now keep in mind they beat top seeded Tampa Bay too. So
That's true. Nobody saw that. Now, no one saw that. That was the
there you
shock of
go.
the playoffs right there. Like they're like, oh, for sure, Tampa's
Yeah, there
gonna
you go.
be for
Yeah,
sure. Tampa's gonna
it,
get
it's it's a
nope.
Tampa Houston championship series, and now it's Boston. So there you
Now,
go.
speaking of the playoff, just to give everybody a heads up. So right now the game is 2-2. Okay, bottom of the fifth with no outs. Yeah, man. And right now, Atlanta's on deck.
So you
So
must be. Yeah, I figured you'd be talking about that one.
two strikes, man. You know. Now, the thing about
Okay.
Atlanta, that's a love-hate relationship right there, man.
Oh
That's the
man,
one
you ain't got to.
team,
Don't even bring it up. Don't even bring it up.
one
I already
team
know
I
what you're
don't
gonna
even.
say.
Yeah, that's the one team I don't support, man. I can't
95.
do
We
it.
get it. 95. 95 is all
Ah,
we gonna
I
say.
can't do it. I could never do it. Nope. Not
Now,
even converting that way. Nope.
what I will say on that is, they keep an ace in the hole, and that ace is their pitching.
Hmm.
So with that being said, the Dodgers. Let me start over. Their ace in the hole is pitching. It's never really been, the offense. But with that being said, this is not. I don't think this was a good matchup for the Dodgers, just because this is two totally different styles of baseball. The Dodgers
Hmm.
like to the Dodgers like to generate hits. The Dodgers like to try to, overwhelm you with base hits, home runs.
True.
The Braves keep games close. They always have for like the last 20, maybe 25 years. They keep games close. Game 1, 3-2. Game 2, you said it's tied up 2-2. So with that being said, the Dodgers better figure something out, because
Hmm.
if they don't, and these games keep staying close, that means you're keeping the Braves in this. You don't want to keep the Braves in a situation where they feel like they have a chance.
And here's the
Take
thing,
this
man.
game out, take this game away from them early. You have to
Exactly.
generate offense. You have to
Exactly.
against Atlanta. You have to, because there is a guy who I despise as a player. I despise him to this day. I was playing
Mm.
World Series baseball in '98 the other night, and I promise you, when I saw him, because we had to do interleague play, but when I
Yeah.
saw this man, I automatically cussed him out. His name is Greg Maddux.
Oh yeah, great Maddox.
So think about how Greg would just push you off the plate, because there were a lot of batters back then who like to stay on the plate and make you pitch into their power. Greg would force you off the plate and make you play into his hand. And I think the Braves, as an organization, stuck with that. And they've had some great pitchers over that span, from Greg Maddox till now, and these pitchers have learned to keep the team in games. So when
True.
you keep the Braves in the game, you're looking at a situation where you may not pull out of this series. And if I was the Dodgers, I'd figure something out to where we push them and put ourselves in a position where we can overwhelm them with offense.
And I'm glad you
Maybe I'm
said that
wrong.
because no, you're not. I don't think you are at all because the way this game has gone, they've only scored their 2 runs in the first inning. So top of the first inning, they got a home run. They drove a guy in, and that's been it. They haven't scored since. And then Atlanta recently got 2 runs in the bottom of the fourth. And right now, you figure uh, they're pitching to them, and it's like okay, you already had your shot in the fifth. You missed that out too. So now you've went 4 straight innings with no score, right?
Hmm.
Atlanta has the momentum, okay, and you're slowly cutting away at them. Speaking of which, what they did as a result of that is the Dodgers have now switched their pitcher out. Okay, so they got a fresh guy in. Atlanta has 2 strikes, 1 out. Okay, and their batter currently is one of two who is up on the line, up on the base, and they have one guy on first base right now. So you figure if he can drive that in, they're up 3-2. Or if he cracks a homer right here, who knows? You got a fresh pitcher in, anything can go one way or
Man,
the other, right? And the thing is, the guy that just got taken out, Scherzer, he had a decent amount of work. He ended up
Max is
with,
one of the best in the game. He's
right,
literally one of the
right.
best in the game.
And for him, he threw 52 strikes out of the 79 pitches that he did toss. So
That
that
ain't
was it.
good. I
Now, here's the
mean
thing.
that's great. That's good, and I understand. That he was dialed in, but the problem with that is those balls and those hits that come off of that have tied the game. So now what? Who
True.
do you have? Who do you have that's good enough to keep the momentum for you?
Mm, yeah, that's good. I mean, you figure you in the bottom of the fifth too, man. You still got a few more innings here, and
I'm just
you're in
saying
Atlanta. So I don't
that
know.
that's my point. You have to overwhelm Atlanta if you're gonna win this game or this series. And right
Mhm.
now, you got Atlanta thinking they already a game up on you. Now you got them thinking we take two, we may take the series.
Mhm. Absolutely, man. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, right now it's not looking too good. And the pitch they just brought in there, he giving old boy confidence. So we'll see how that inning is, man. But
Hey, there you go.
I
Hey,
don't know. Atlanta might take this one, bro. They might take this one. He's looking. I don't
all
know.
right. Last topic of the of the night. Not even gonna say the season. Last topic of the night. Going to the NFL. And quick update: the Steelers are on the board first with 2 minutes left in the half. They're up 7-0 over the Seahawks. Been through a strike to Najee Harris. So, you know, for everybody that was laughing at the Steelers, you know, Ben still got a little bit left in the tank. And I'm only saying this because we're observing football in the way we're supposed to. Like Ben is old. I get it. He's old. He needs to sit down. But as of right now, he looked like he got a lot left in the tank and he's trying to get it out. And the Steelers have the ball and they're driving. It's first and goal on the 6. So if you take a 2 touchdown lead up on Seattle, they don't do well without Russell Wilson and playing from behind. So
Hmm. That's the
this is
difference.
gonna, yeah, that's the difference between Russell Wilson and Geno Smith. Love Geno, Geno ain't Russell, and the offense looks totally different when Russell was not there.
That is true. And let's keep in mind too, Gino
He
hasn't
gone for
had a
three
regular
weeks.
season. Yeah, he's gone for 3 weeks, and Gino hasn't had a regular season start in 7 years. Let's just keep it real too.
Oh
Um,
man,
so
this
it's
is
gonna
the
be a
last
little
time
bit
to get
different.
hurt, Russ.
I
Unless
mean,
you pick a fight. I love you, Russ, but you pick a fine time to get hurt.
Yeah, it's the wrong part of the season, man. And then on top of that, the thing about Ben, and it's funny because I was looking at it crazy at first, but then after talking to Coach Cowher, man, when we were having the Hall of Fame conversations, this past year, he was telling everybody to watch out. The main one that said that, he was like, "Look, everybody writing them off, you know." But he said, "Okay, Ben is gonna show y'all something, man. He's gonna show y'all something. Just watch, just wait and watch. It's gonna happen." You know, he didn't say he
Yeah.
was gonna win the Super Bowl or anything, but he said like y'all writing him off
He
like
was
he about
going
to
out
be
with a
throwing
bang.
games. Yeah, he gonna do his thing. So we see that kind of ramping up here as each game and each week goes on. It's getting progressively better and getting more
Yeah.
comfortable. So that's definitely
Even without
happening.
keep in mind, he's doing this without Juju. So
Hmm. Yep, no Juju this week. Yeah, forgot about that.
no Juju for the rest of the season. He's done. That shoulder is done for the rest of the
Oh, I
season.
missed that part.
Yeah. I almost started crying.
Shoot,
But
speaking of which, talking about shoulders.
we're gonna get to that. We're gonna
Ooh,
get to that.
yeah, I seen
We're
that
gonna get
update
to that.
pop up like 10 minutes ago. Ugh.
Um, quick update. Dodgers and Braves. Braves have a runner on first and second. Vassier is pitching and Freeman is at
Whoa.
bat. He's down two
Mm.
strikes, but uh,
Only got one out
it's
though,
two.
right?
Yes, two on, one out. 2-2 is the count. Two balls, two strikes,
Mm.
and you know they get a good base. Braves get a good base hit and start taking this game out of the hands. It's gonna be a problem.
You already know what they got to do. Go ahead and hit that to the wall. Go ahead and do that, or pull it to the right field.
Yeah,
Go ahead and knock
because
that way.
that Turner Field and the Steelers have scored. It's 14-0.
There it is.
So we're gonna move on from the Steelers and all of that. So the Raiders continue their dominance over the Broncos. Uh, 34-24 is the final score. And the reason I'm bringing this game up first is because there's an issue at quarterback in Denver.
Mm.
And the issue is not a real issue. It's more of a, is this really working out? Or
Mm.
is it more to what we're seeing? Teddy's back at quarterback. He's starting out in Denver. Denver starts out decent, but they come up against a couple teams. They lose two. This is the second one they lost, and I believe. Is it Teddy or is it a needed change in the offense?
Ooh, man, it's hard to say really because this is probably. I'll even go on and say this is probably one of the worst games that Teddy's done, um, especially this season. To me, he hasn't played bad. I felt like this season so far, but this is probably the worst game he's done, especially tossing three INTs. Um, but with that, I don't think they should panic just yet. Um,
That was going
they
to be my
are,
next question.
yeah, they shouldn't panic yet. I mean, you're still 3-3, right? You're one game behind the Raiders or whatever. And then, of course, the Ravens smacked up on the Chargers. So even with them winning last week, they end up losing this week. So you're still in it. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be too upset about that. Um, but as far as them figuring it out, I mean, I don't know, man. I wouldn't move on from him yet. I don't think that's the right move. I feel like he has a good group with his team. Even though they did play, okay, I get it. They played the Giants, Jaguars, Jets. You couldn't have had a better start to your season playing them three teams. Like nobody has those three in a row to start your season off. That never freaking happens. So I was like,
Right,
okay, I
right.
get it. But then when you drop three in a row, you're like, oh, okay, now we're playing some more quality opponents and we're not winning. So I get why you would ask me that. I definitely get that. Um, but looking at their roster, though, as I pulled that up with Bridgewater, I still feel like he puts them in the best position to win right now. I don't know if you
Okay.
go back with Drew Lock, because the thing is, like,
You funny. You
you
funny.
know what I'm saying? You, I mean, do you go
You
back with Drew
real
Lock?
funny.
Like, I don't know if you
Hell
do
no, you
that.
don't
You know what I'm
go.
saying?
Hell no. No, I tell
Because
you what, no, I said it. Hell no. You don't go
think
back
about
to
that for a
Drew
sec.
Lock.
Because think about that. Drew Lock's been there, right? For let's see, what's this his fourth year? And already you got Bridgewater coming in, starting over him. Last year was what? Flacco, or year before
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So this guy's only 4 years in, and you already are like, nah, he ain't started. No, but you drafted him. You drafted him. Okay. But the fact that you already got two other people, two other veterans who you brought in to say, look, man, I don't know if this guy is it. We can't trade him. And then now you got another guy starting on top of him,
Hey,
right?
look, I'm
They're
gonna be
gonna
honest
let him
with
play
you.
his contract out. Is what I'm basically trying to say. This is
I'm gonna
last
be
year of his rookie
honest with you.
contract. He ain't coming
I
back.
don't even care. Screw all of that. I'm gonna just be flat out honest with you, man.
Nigga Bridgewater.
This is one of them situations where outside of Marcus Mariota, and I don't think he got a fair shot in Oakland the first time.
Oh no, he didn't.
Or t-
Absolutely not.
but where I'm going with this is outside of Mariota, I don't trust no quarterback coming out of the Pac-12. I don't. I don't. Drew, especially if he coming from Washington, man. Washington ain't had a real good quarterback come out since I don't know, Warren Moon. If he coming out of
Yeah,
the Pac-12, if he coming out of the Pac-12 and I'm a GM, he getting a 2 year contract. You got 2 years. Show me what you got, bro.
exactly.
I'm
Exactly
just
it. And I
being
don't think they
honest.
re-signed him.
I don't either.
You know?
I just it's just something about this new crop. Like I said, outside of Mariota, it's just this new crop of quarterbacks. I just don't trust their ability to keep teams in the game. Now you
Right.
see Drew Lock. Drew Lock gets hammered. Whether he throwing interception or he just taking sacks, he gets hammered.
Hard.
I don't. Maybe it's that new Washington stigma. I don't know. Maybe it's the Pac-12 busting up in divisions. Whatever the case is, I just don't trust a quarterback coming from the Pac-12 in this new crop. If this was Drew's era up to 2000, okay,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I'm with you with Teddy. Teddy gives them a better shot. Teddy's more mobile, more athletic,
Hmm.
but it's I just don't see it. Um, yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that. Um, moving
Yeah.
on, uh, uh, the '80s rock star known as Aaron Rodgers.
Mm.
Maybe it's me, man. I saw a commercial with him. Is it just me, or do he look like he belongs in a '80s hair band?
Man, he letting it all go. I mean, he just said, forget it, man. I'm gonna do my own thing. And he literally
Hey,
meant, I'm gonna do
hey,
my own thing. That man is in
hey,
a league of
I'm
his
gonna be
own.
real with you. When I saw that commercial and he had the guitar, I immediately thought he was a member of Bon Jovi.
Oh, he got the look. He definitely got the look. And
I
he's
promise you,
keeping it.
I promise you, I thought he was a member of Bon Jovi. But moving on from the jokes, he owns the Bears still, and he even said it when he
He
scored a
even said it.
touchdown.
Hmm.
Uh, the Bengals making me nervous. The Bengals, well, but to be fair, it's the Lions. The Bengals destroy the Lions, but they are 4-2. They're 2 games above 500 now. They're
Hmm.
making me nervous because I was not expecting them to look this good. Um, but we'll see. Time will tell with them within the next couple of weeks.
Oh
The
yeah.
Jags. Urban Meyer gets his first win as an NFL head coach in London. So maybe he plays better away from the U.S. He has a team looking good away from the U.S. They kick a 52-yard field goal. 52-yard field goal, and they win in London and against the Dolphins. Uh, I know some Dolphins fans having heart attacks right now. Uh, Houston gets beat on by the Colts, so Carson Wentz
Hmm.
actually didn't die in this game. He actually went off.
Yeah, I was surprised, man.
You text me something earlier, and I'm gonna just fast forward to that. You already talked about the Ravens beating on the Chargers, which makes me wonder if the Browns did the right thing last week by throwing the ball. But the Chiefs, you text me about Patrick Mahomes' mom. What was that about?
So, in the midst of her son's 8 interceptions already, okay, let's start with that. Um, she's like, they should make a new rule. She's all over Twitter and she's just, embarrassing him basically. So she's all over Twitter and she's like, they should make a new rule because when they took the balls up and it's not my son's fault and it bounces off someone's hands, that shouldn't be an interception. I'm like, if the ball's in the air,
Okay.
whether you throw it, whether it gets knocked up while you're in a throwing motion, if that ball touches the other team's hands and they secure it before they hit the ground or they're running with it, whatever, it's an INT. Damn it. I don't care how it gets there, whether it's tipped up or whether you just threw it too short or too long, it's an INT. That rule has been the same forever, Sandlot reference, and it is not changing. Okay? So
No.
if she really
Wow.
wants to be salty about it, go talk to your son and tell him stop throwing picks. Do that. Bring him over, cook him a big old meal, right? Bring over the wife and that new grandchild you got. You'll have a big old meal. Okay. Have a
I'm
sit down and
done.
say, look, you wasn't doing this when you was at Texas Tech. You wasn't doing this in your first few years in the NFL. Now you got 8 interceptions, which I didn't think
Yeah,
would
that.
happen right now. Right now in this part of the season. Along the whole season, yeah, okay. 10 to 12, 10 to 10 to
Yeah, we
8
still
to
we still
10.
6 games in.
We're
Yeah.
6 games in. We got 11 games left. You threw 8 already. You threw more than Baker, bruh. But we want to call for his head. Okay, I'm gonna get back to. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, we gonna get
But
to
my
that. Don't
thing,
worry. Don't worry.
but
We
my
gonna get
thing
to that.
is, you know, sit that man down, have a discussion with him. Maybe if you want to change the rule, maybe just tell your son to do what he need to do. You know, just saying, play for that contract that you got paid for. I mean, now granted, some of those interceptions was not his fault, but that's just how the game
Don't
is.
matter. Don't matter.
It
It
don't
still
matter.
counts.
It still counts. If Cheetah can't catch it and go up in
Patriot.
the air, guess what? Somebody
Yeah.
coming down with it. Just saying.
Cowboys and Patriots.
Ooh.
Cowboy Dak squeezes out a very good last minute touchdown
Mm-hmm.
and overtime thriller. Cowboys 5-1. Do you think that they're back to rare form, or is this a flash in the pan?
I think they are. I think they are. I think Dak was on a mission, obviously, to come back. He's proven that. He's putting that same velocity on the ball that he did before his ankle got broke, right? On top of that, Ezekiel Elliott, finally took it serious and got into better shape. So there's that, and he's running a lot better than he's been in the past 4 years. And to see what he's been able to do so far, he's looking like the guy that used to have the rock when he was at Ohio State. It's pretty exciting, actually. And then on top of that, you got CD Lamb. Like everybody wants to talk about Amari Cooper and what that looks like and the running game and Dak and whatnot. But you got to give that credit to CD Lamb. You know, what people forget is CD Lamb, right, is the reason why a Baker Mayfield or a Kyler Murray have Heisman's. Both have a Heisman. CD Lamb. Okay, let's think about that. That's the guy that got you that. That's the guy you threw a lot of your passes to. That's the man. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, he's now finally found his niche in the NFL, and he's going to be here a while, right? I would even go on record and say, even with Amari Cooper out there, I'm still looking at CeeDee Lamb as being that dude. Cooper, yes, he's a very talented wide receiver. We all know this. We all know that he has great hands, route running, whatnot, very athletic. But CeeDee Lamb is just different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just looks different. He's one of those guys where he's going to be that X factor. He's the other guy that they wanted him to be when they first drafted him, right? It didn't pan out the first couple seasons, but now he's definitely found who he's supposed to be. He's very scary to play against. You know, he's only going to get better. He hasn't hit his ceiling yet. I really feel like because of that, that gives them that edge. Now, I can't speak for them defensively yet. I think they're getting there. They're getting better every week. They're definitely not where they were last year. Oh my God, that defense was terrible. Oh, that was the worst defense in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Hands down. Even worse than the freaking Giants. They were terrible. But when it came to, them trying to put it together, and let's say right now they're kind of like in the middle, but that offense is definitely thriving, man. The defense doing just enough to keep them there, and then Dak is leading that team, man, doing what he did before. It's great. I'm happy for them. I am very happy for them. You know, I don't know if they'll go deep this year, but they could make a case.
Yeah, and as of right now, they do lead the division, so anything
Hmm.
is possible. Anything is possible, and this is the Cowboys we're talking about, so they're looking good. And lastly, Cardinals take a shit on the Browns, 37-14. Um, Baker re-injures his shoulder.
Mm,
It's just an all-around bad game, not just for Baker, just for the team.
yeah.
Um, you know, I know people give Kyler Murray a lot of shit because he's shorter than most of the quarterbacks in the league, but that does not stop him from being a quarterback.
Hmm.
You know, there have been plenty of short quarterbacks in the NFL besides Baker. Drew is one of them. Drew Brees is one of them. Drew Brees is barely 6'1". Uh, Doug Flutie. And, Doug made it possible for short quarterbacks to exist in the NFL. Baker's another one. So with that, I know I know you're gonna hear this on talk radio tomorrow. I know you're gonna hear this on ESPN tomorrow, maybe even tonight. Leave it alone. Just let this game go. Here's the reason being you're down, you were down Nick Chubb going into this game. Now
Hmm.
you're down Kareem Hunt. We don't know the extent of his injury, but he left getting carried off. Baker re-injures his shoulder, but he claims it's not gonna stop him from playing through it. Uh, I don't know if you want to keep Odell in this situation. Jarvis still isn't back, even though Peoples Jones has showed up. That was a hell of a Hail Mary
Hmm.
catch.
Definitely.
My my thing is this. Yeah, the Cardinals beat on the Browns. Yes, the Browns lost ugly, but it's 6 games into the season. I'm going to reiterate this. It's 6 games into the season. It's a 17-game season. It's 11 more of these to go. Number one. Number two, the Browns are still 500.
Hmm.
Do not hit the panic button just yet. If Baker goes down in the plane crash, knock on wood, okay, hit the panic button. If he gets evicted from his commercials, he gets evicted from First Energy Stadium. Okay, hit the panic button. This game literally was not all on Baker.
Mm-mm.
If you watch this game, but I'm saying this because I know somebody somewhere, whether it be talk radio, ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, whatever the case is, I know somebody's going to say this was Baker's fault. I don't think people realize the Cardinals are a good team. From the defense back to the offense, the Cardinals are a good team. Reason being, they went out and got Watt. Watt's one of the best pass rushers not named Miles Garrett or Khalil Mack or his brother. Number two, Kyler Murray is a mobile quarterback. He's not a dual threat. I mean, he can run if he really wanted to, but the offense for the Cardinals is not designed for him to run. He's got Connor, he's got the other guy behind him. He don't need to run. He's short, so he has to make moves to see the ball. That's it. He's
Mm-hmm.
got he's got DeAndre Hopkins. He's got AJ Green. He ain't hurting on offense. He's got a plethora of people to support him. He's got a defense that sacked and caused fumbles all game on Baker.
Yep. There's nothing else on
This
top about
card, yeah, this Cardinals team is for real. And right now, if people ain't paying attention, they just might steal, and I do mean steal the NFC West because people pick either San Fran or Seattle and ain't paid attention that the Rams and the Cardinals are right there. So this division is reversed. Is Seattle struggling, the 49ers are struggling, and then you got LA and you got Arizona sitting right at the top.
it.
Y'all
Mm-hmm.
better pay attention. You better pay attention because this is where, keep in mind, I did not expect Arizona to be the last team to be undefeated. I did not expect that. I wrote
Yep.
in a column I wrote months ago. I had picked the Browns to just dog walk Arizona. I did not think Arizona was gonna rise like this,
Me neither. And looking at them, AJ Green's a little bit older, right?
and he
But here's the
still
scary
got
part
it.
about him. But the thing is, he has found the chemistry with Kyler Murray that he could not find with Joe Burrow, which is why he's
Man,
not in Cincinnati anymore. Period.
I
Right?
I don't even
Which is
think it's
why
that.
they brought in.
I think he just wanted out of Cincinnati, to be
I
honest.
mean, he wanted out, but he's not a guy that's gonna like tank it on purpose to get away. You know what I'm
True,
saying?
true.
Because I felt that chemistry was never there. It was always either him throwing to Boyd or finding some of the other guys that were out there, but him and AJ Green just never get on the same page, right?
That is
He
true.
gets out
That is true.
there, and you're adding him into the mix of DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk, and Christian Kirk been balling his ass off.
Hmm.
Okay, so everybody want to talk about DH or whatever. DH is the man. I'll give you that, but Kirk been balling. Don't sleep on Kirk. And you figure Green is up there with them in terms of targets and receptions. He right
Hmm.
there. He's actually taking receptions away from them too, because he's just doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of scary. Then on top of that, okay, what people forget about this game going into it was Cleveland's whole scheme when it comes to the run and what they do. Like you said, you got J.J. Watt out there going up against a team that has no tackles today. None. Like your top two tackles is hurt. Conklin is
Hurt.
out, and Willis is
Wills is
out,
hurt
and then your backup is out for the rest of the season, dog. The
with
rest of the
shoulder
season,
surgery.
shoulder surgery. Like that dude was flopping between. Actually, Hubbard was one of those guys playing any position that went down last year, believe it or not. So
Yeah,
when Wyatt
yeah.
Teller was hurt, he played guard, right? When Willis had that one game he had to sit out because of COVID,
Let,
he
let,
played
let's
Willis's
let's be
position.
let's be logical about this, and I'm not saying that you're logical. I mean this as a collective to the people watching.
Hmm.
That whole offensive line for the Browns is beat up.
Beat down, beat up.
The
They hurt.
entire offensive line is beat up. So let's not just throw, Baker under the bus.
Can't.
They've been playing hurt since game one, you
Yep.
know, and it's also no secret. Cleveland gets one of the toughest schedules in the league every year. So Granted, I had them coming out of this first 8 game stretch of the season. I had them coming out 6-2, 7-1. Okay, that ain't happening. Now Hunt's hurt. We don't know the extent yet. Baker's playing hurt. I, it's not all his fault. Everybody's gonna be calling for his head, but Case Keenum ain't no better. I'm sorry.
Man, oh
Case Keenum
gosh.
only had Case Keenum only had one 3,000 yard season. I don't trust that. I'm not a Browns fan, and I'm looking at the reality. If you Case Keenum and you got only one 3,000 yard season, and that happens to be your best statistical season, I'm not trusting you to carry this
Nope.
team. And you already at a disadvantage. Should in the worst case scenario, should Kevin Stefanski throw him in there, he's gonna be at a disadvantage. Offensive line's beat up. You're down a running back. Who knows if you got chemistry with Odell and Jarvis and the rest of the receiving core?
Mm,
You're not mobile. That's 3 and 4. You're not mobile.
nope.
If shit breaks down in the pocket, you cannot run. You have no speed, and Warren Sapp could catch you at 50 right now. I'm pretty sure.
Yep. And that's the thing I want to talk about too. Like, with this line and just looking at the different styles between both running backs. So you figure my prediction at first was okay. I felt like with all that happening, they weren't going to win. I didn't think it would be a beat down this bad. But at the same time, I was like, well, they're probably going to end up using Kareem more in the passing game, right? Having the outside, tackles being gone like that, he's more used to like more of a spread coming from
Hmm.
Toledo. It's just what they do in the MAC. Those running backs are used to those gaps and those holes and kind of seeing the field more, right? Okay, cool. At the same time, you got a guy like Chubb who's more of a one cut dude. They're relying really heavy on the play of the guards, a lot of pulling, a lot of cutbacks, stuff like that. Two different clearly styles of running, right? That's why it works so well when they're both together. You don't know what you're going to get when they're both in there pounding the rock. When you take it down to one, and then you take
It's
away both
it's
tackles,
it's vanilla, very
God, it's
vanilla.
just so predictable, right? You're just like, oh, okay, here we go. He's running left, guys. It's like you can't disguise it no more. And in the way that
Right,
Callahan's blocking scheme is, you need them tackles, man. It's a zone scheme. People
man.
don't think like that, right? You got fans. They're like, oh man, we lost and Baker sucks,
Yeah,
right?
because
They're
I
not
because
looking at the
I
game like we looking at it, man.
yeah, because I looked at social media. It was all trade Odell, Baker
Mm,
sucks. It's a great season, guys. Rest everybody up. Like, guys, you got to understand when you're playing football, injuries happen. Do we want them to happen? No, we don't, but they
right.
happen. Do we Are we going to miss key players? Yes, we are. Next man up until they
Yep.
get back.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing about this particular scenario. You calling for Baker's head. I don't see, nor do I hear anybody calling for uh, Pat Mahomes' head. And Pat Mahomes threw his seventh and eighth interceptions today. And the team is actually a game below 500.
Hmm.
Now, would this be happening if Baker was in Kansas City or if Pat Mahomes was here? Who knows? But to call for this man's head, to call for any quarterback who's basically busting his ass and breaking his neck and throwing his body on the line to help the team win, to call for his head is nonsense.
It's not. It's just crazy,
And
man. Like I don't understand why he would do that. It's just
I tell you why, because they riding that high off of last season and not realizing that you this they did not improve the offensive line as far as depth. That's the first thing. They kept everybody, which was fine, but you did nothing to back up. The B team should be just as good as the A team. And
Yep.
right now, the B team is more beat up than the A team
That's the
as
issue
far as your
here.
depth, as far as your lineman depth is concerned.
Yes.
Secondly, Baker has been hit in the first, I'll say the first 4 games. He's been hit more in the first 4 games, not sacked, just hit. He's been hit more in the first 4 games than he was between the first 8 weeks of last season.
Hmm.
So between Kansas City's defense, between who was that? The Chargers defense, and now today, which was the three best defenses he'll probably see before the Steelers and whoever else is on the Steelers and the Ravens. I'll say that he's been beat up, and so is the offensive line.
Exactly.
Those two go hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. Motherfucking what's that boy name? The Surf Bum in Jacksonville. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, Lawrence.
Yeah, he's experiencing that right now. That offensive line is terrible.
Trash bag.
Is terrible. Yet he's big enough to take those kind of hits. Baker ain't built like him. So I think because this is a short week, I do think they have a chance to beat Denver and go back to being a game above 500, and then take the week off, take those 10 days off to heal up. But this was a messed up stretch for them
Hmm.
because you're playing a tough team. Denver is going to come in here and be just as tough.
Oh yeah,
Denver
for
is
sure.
very scrappy. Denver is very scrappy. So if they can survive this game, let's hope for the sake of discussion,
Hmm.
Chubb comes back because that gives Denver is very bad against the run. So let's hope he comes back. Let's hope Hunt's injury is not as bad as it looked on TV. And next man up, you know, after this, they got 10 days to get right. And that's where, I think Stefanski knew this was coming as far as, the team being beat up, but he was trying to push through it. And if that's the case, you gotta commend him for that because it's a messed up situation. Very
So
messed up situation.
let me ask you this, because with a short week, you know, and then having that 10 days off, because you got a long part of the season still left. You're 3-3, right? You're about to play your seventh game, and you still got 10 games left, right?
Hmm.
Here's my thing. With that, and knowing what could possibly happen, Baker has an MRI tomorrow. They want to see what's going on with that. He had a sling on his actual shoulder, which is the first time he's done that this season since he's been hurt. Regardless of the results of the MRI, do you still start him this week? Or do you just say, screw it, we're going to just take that one on the chin and prepare him for the last 10 weeks of the season and
Are you
potentially the
asking
playoffs?
me? Are you asking me to be honest, or are you asking me to be a Browns fan?
Oh, be honest.
Before,
No, don't
okay,
be a fan because the fans are going to say sit him.
no, the fans are gonna say make him play, but to be honest, I sit him and
I
I
would too.
trust Case. I sit him. I can't believe I'm saying this,
Well, for this
but
game. For this game.
yeah, don't matter. I still can't believe I'm saying this. I sit Baker and I trust Case Keenum to manage the game, do what he has to do to win. Don't do nothing exotic. Don't do nothing, over dramatic. Just hand the ball off, make the throws you need to throw, and get through the game. Denver is not good against the run. So, backs 3 and 4, assuming Chubb can't come back and assuming Hunt, whatever injury Hunt has, backs 3 and 4 are decent enough to help you get through this game.
Hmm.
So logically, we need Baker for the rest of the season. I sit Baker. I get Keenum ready because he's fresh. Number one. Number
True.
two, it's a short week. It's a very short week. The game is on Thursday. So I sit Baker. I get Keenum ready as best I can. I get him the chemistry with the ones. And, the defense, it was just a bad game all around. Offensively, defensively, special teams wise, it was just a bad game. Like, Arizona came in here ready. So we gonna move on. I put Case in and we see what happens. Now, if Case pans out and Case gets the job done, cool. We ride that with the 10 days we got. We see where Baker is by day 6, 7. If he ain't right, we keep Case in, ride the hot hand till he's back. Once he's back, we go back to normal. Once Hunt's ready, Chubb's ready, we go back to normal. But right now, Keenum's my guy. I can't believe I'm saying that, but Keenum's my guy. Just because I know Baker re-injured his shoulder. I saw it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
It looked gruesome. It looked like it hurt. We need to know where this shoulder is. So for right now, Case Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever it is, call Jarvis, call Peoples Jones, call the National Guard. But you got to get ready.
You got to get ready, bro. Yeah, man. The only thing helping them out right now is the fact that game is home. I mean, could you imagine had to go to Denver?
Truth be told, it wouldn't even matter. Truth be told, honestly, it wouldn't even matter just because everybody's still banged up. Offensive line, running backs, quarterback. Those are the 3 most important things on your offense that are hurt. Legit hurt. You got to save your franchise quarterback and get him the help he needs medically, because, like I said, we don't know the extent of this injury.
True.
We don't know. We know it's not his throwing arm, so that saves him. But even with that, the slightest jerk, the slightest flinch, the lightest bounce off the turf is gonna hurt. So until we know how bad this is during the MRI, I'm throwing Case Keenum out. He's gonna be the sacrificial lamb till we find out what exactly is going on. And I know everybody's like, well, we can still get Aaron Rodgers next year. No, you can't. No, you can't.
That's not happening, bro.
We still can get we can get quarterbacks better than Baker. No, you can't. You know why? Because you can't afford them. You can't afford them.
Nope, you can't afford them.
You already paid Myles Garrett $100 some odd million. 80 of that is guaranteed. On top of that, there's no number that will make Aaron Rodgers come to Cleveland.
No.
It's not. It's just not. There's no number that's going to make him come to Cleveland. Why would he need to?
Exactly. It's not going to work it wouldn't work for him anyway. And then on top of that, like you said, you can't pay him. And in addition to that, I mean,
he's old.
Like I said last week, he's old, and he's going to need his people to come with him. That's just how it works.
You can't afford them.
Because you're not going to be able to get him and Adams to come here.
Even if you could, you can't afford neither one of them.
Nope. You can't even afford Adams by itself without him.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm really just like, as much as I dislike it, you got to put Keenum in now. Mm-hmm. Get him ready. He's got a shot against Denver. You have a shot to beat Denver, which traditionally you don't do. Because the last few years, last couple times, Denver has owned you, but you have a shot. And this would be the time, if you're going to experiment with this would be the time to throw him in. See what you got at backup. See if he makes it. See if he makes it through this. See how he looks. Evaluate the film. Evaluate whatever running backs are there during the game. And go from there. Man, I'm I'm looking at this, man. I'm even looking at people say bring in Cam Newton. As nice as that sounds on 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 talk, as nice as that sounds, why?
Bring in Cam Newton.
Hmm.
Oh, man. I mean, if this was 10 years ago, I'd be like, hell yeah. Now I'm like, no. Bring in Cam. I don't
And
think
look,
I'm gonna even entertain that tonight. I'll be honest, man. I can't. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't. Because it was enough last week trying to explain why you don't do away with Baker right now. Whether you feel he's the answer or not, he's the best chance they have right now with him behind center. And now we're talking about Cam Newton. Man, fans, what is wrong with y'all? That's all I gotta say.
they're
What is wrong with
fans.
y'all?
They're fans.
What's wrong with y'all? Y'all,
They're
y'all,
fans.
are y'all watching the same game? I, I'm sorry, I have nothing to say.
Hey,
That's probably the
I'm
dumbest thing
I'm
you read today.
I'm just gonna leave it at this. As a football fan, looking at the body of work and looking at what Baker has had to go through, I still believe he is the best chance the Browns have at winning. I also believe that there is a consensus and a realm of logic that you need to have as a fan to
Hmm.
understand why it's been this way. It ain't been Baker. It's not been all him. You've put this man in a situation where he's had to play with three different systems in his first 4 years of playing. And this is his the second full year under a system he can actually thrive in.
Hmm.
Stop calling for this man's head and let this man play ball. I honestly thought, I, I will say this to add to that. I honestly think that Kevin Stefanski needs to let up on the shackles a little bit. Because last year, he had the gunslinger mentality. He was throwing it. The throws was being made. Some interceptions was being thrown, but he went back out there with confidence. I think this year it's a different story. And
Hmm.
excuse me, I think Stefanski may need to, take the chains off a little bit.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Like, you figure it's your second year in this offense, man. You have to open it up. You have to trust that this guy is going to do something different. That's how he's going to grow potentially. You know what I'm saying? You have to do that. I mean, it's just time to make it happen. Um, and then looking at this overall too, here's something else that I wanted to point out. Um, Looking at all of the different QBs right now, let's just say for the sake of like our own division. Okay, so with the AFC North, so far this season, even with Baker being banged up and even with what he's, currently going through, this man has the highest QBR in the division. You wouldn't
There
even
you
know it
go.
because of how he's playing. Dude, he's at a 96.9 QBR right now after these 6 games.
There you go.
And
There you
y'all
go.
still calling for him? Everyone else, okay, yes, they may have more wins. Lamar had that crazy game or whatever last couple times he's played. I get that, but the QBRs are like in the 50s and 60s. Burrow's like 50 something, Lamar's 60 something. Like, there's a reason statistically why these people have these ratings, man. You know, Baker's only making the throws that he has to make, that he
Very
sees
true.
is available. I agree. Okay, yeah, you may want him to try a couple here and there, whatever, but he's literally turned his game around from where he was a couple of years ago. He's not throwing crazy interceptions like he was before, trying to take all these different chances. He's actually taking care of the ball, which is what you wanted him to do. And he's doing that,
Apparently,
injury
apparently
or
not.
not.
Apparently not.
Oh, man, it's crazy. They're like, he only got 4 TDs. He hasn't had to throw more TDs. The fact that you have 4 TDs on the season and you put up 42 last week, the fact that you were able to chuck the Hail Mary you just chucked today with a jacked up shoulder, you don't
Yeah,
even have your full throwing motion yet, and you threw that ball
yeah. That
because
should
you
be player of the
saw it.
week. Just
Like,
even in
like,
the loss, that should be player of the week.
right. And your banged up offensive line. What more do you want this man to do right now? I don't understand. I don't get it. You're
I
three
don't
and
either.
three with a jacked up team on both sides of the ball because the defense still ain't 100% either.
There you
You know what
go.
I'm saying?
You
Ward
just
ain't
not
playing.
getting
Newsom just
Ward.
got
He
like
played today. He played today.
play.
Newsom played today, but you can see that they still ain't 100, completely 100%. They
No,
more at, I'd say 80
80,
percent
right?
maybe.
75, 80%. Yeah, they ain't there yet. Only one that like 100% is greedy. You know what I'm saying?
But he just got back to 100%
He
after 2
just
years.
got back right. Oh man, fans, bro,
I, bro,
fans,
I'm with you, man.
fans.
Hey,
God,
this make me glad I retired.
man, just I don't.
Make,
Oh my God.
it made me glad I retired, bro. Made me glad I retired.
And then here, okay, here's one more for you. Ben Roethlisberger, right? He's just
Finished.
under
I was about to
1,300
say,
throwing yards.
and he's 21 to 28 right now for 171 yards and a touchdown tonight. And the Steelers are leading 14-7 now.
Awesome, right? Now here's the
Yeah,
thing. That's what
Baker
he's
got a
doing
higher
so
QBR
far,
than him.
man. And you know what's crazy about that? His QBR is almost tripled.
I can believe that. I can
People
believe
still
that.
calling for this man's head. He got more passing yards, and he hasn't even passed as much. Oh my God, I can't, man, I can't do it anymore, man. I'm about to burst open, bro. Like
Oh man, why
it's
don't
giving me
even look? This ain't
passing.
something we need to worry about.
You know what? We're gonna be sitting back here talking about "we told you so." That's all it's gonna be. You gotta let
You know
stuff
what?
ride. You gotta build it up.
I I
It's
still I still believe because the Browns ain't had. Keep in mind, Browns don't have a division game till the second half of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. They
They
don't
don't
play
have their
till yeah
they
until
don't
they
have their
come back
first
after that 10 game stretch.
yeah they don't
They
have
play
their first
Pittsburgh.
division game. They don't have that first division game till after the 10 days off.
Yep, they play
I
Pittsburgh on
still think
Halloween.
I still think the Browns can win this division. Not only do I still think they can win this division, I still think they'll be in the playoffs. And they're 3-3. That means they're still at 500. Which means as of right now, they have a winning record. So what is everybody
Exactly.
worried about?
And here's the
You
thing:
you
they haven't
you need
been
to
at
be
500 since
praying,
week 2.
right? You need to be praying that this team gets healthy and kicks it in gear at the right time.
And,
Maybe
and,
that's just
and,
me.
and that's what blows my mind. They're struggling because they're hurt.
Yeah.
They're not struggling because they suck. Cleveland fans, Cleveland fans, do you hear what I am saying? They are struggling because they are injured. They're not struggling because they have a full squad and they suck. Do you understand what is happening right now? Do you see this? You saw the last 3 years. You saw when they went 0-16, the second team in the NFL to do that. You saw what happened last year when they turned it up, 2 games away from the Super Bowl, and now they're hurt and they're still 500 after 6 games, injured on both sides of the ball. And you are complaining. Why? Why, Cleveland fans, are you complaining? You should be happy. You should be
They're
damn happy they're
complaining.
not 1-5.
They're
Because that's
complaining
when,
because
oh man,
I'm only saying this because this is my observation. I'm not saying that this is true.
God,
They're complaining because those expectations they were hoping that those expectations got met.
Man.
Now, as a journalist, as an analyst, I was hoping the same thing. And this is my last thought on it. I was hoping the same thing because I want to see the Browns do well. Because when the Browns do well, football in professionally in Ohio is doing well. But when you have a team that's
Uh-oh. Hold on. Uh-oh. One moment here. So we may have lost Mel.
sorry about that.
Okay, cool, cool. I was like, oh man, no, 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 no.
Yeah,
See,
sorry
because you
about
was
that.
froze up. I'm like, oh.
My bad. But to finish my thought, like there is a big difference between having a team at full strength and losing, losing because you're beat up. When you lose because you're beat up, it's just because of that. Half the teams that you're playing, you're better than. But when you're beat up and you're losing to teams that are just as good as you or better than you, it plays a part in why the team's expectations are not where they should be.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win if you're hurt. I don't care who you are. If a UFC fighter is hurt, you know, eye swollen shut, he can't see, whatever eye it is, he can't see that punch coming or that kick coming. That eye is done.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see it.
Done.
This is the same thing. If Baker's hurt because of his offensive line, you need to get that offensive line together.
Yay.
If he has to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game, it's because the running backs are hurt, can't run the ball. That does
Exactly
play a
it.
part in all of this. So everybody, calm the fuck down. 10 days off after the Denver game. 10 days. That is a big, big deal. 10
It's
days
not
off.
even a bye week.
Exactly.
Mm.
10 days off. Everybody, calm the fuck down. Let this team heal up and then look at the results after they're at full strength.
Exactly it. And here's another point with that. If you need a perspective, Cleveland fans, 'cause I'm talking to y'all still, look at Arizona. The only person missing significantly from that team was the head coach, I believe their QB coach, and their
And the
linebacker.
offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Right. So,
They was missing
still got
one player and two coaches.
right, one player and two coaches. Everybody else showed up. Okay? They had full strength. Here's the
And
difference.
the linebacker and the game went so well for them, the linebacker didn't even matter.
Didn't even matter at all. Right? Because here's the thing. Let's say the scenario's reversed. Let's say Kyler Murray's hurt and you got to rely on Colt McCoy. Then let's say you don't have James Conner or Edmonds running the ball. Then let's say DeAndre Hopkins is hurt and AJ Green got a bum ankle. Okay. What does that team look like today? Not like what we
It
saw.
ain't six. It ain't 6-0.
See, just like that,
It
you take all the people away. Is that the same team? No, it is not. Absolutely
ain't
not.
six
Not
and
the
zero.
same team. They ain't 6-0. They barely 2-4. You know what I'm saying?
If that, and
It,
mind you, this team went 8-8 last year. Just keep that in mind.
gosh, man. I, oh, man. I'm done preaching. I'm done
Eh,
preaching. I'm done preaching.
All right. With that being said, we're gonna close it out. This week is the last week of the regular season Senate League game of the week. We had a great broadcast last week, even though you heard the coach from East Tech in our ear and on our microphones. Uh, East Tech did pull that one out. Late interception closed out the game. Yeah, that dude was hilarious. But uh, East Tech got the win over Kennedy last week. So we had a great broadcast at Dwayne Browder Field. Shout out to Mr. Montoya. I saw him there. He was at the game. It was actually homecoming for them. But this week is a very big game because Glenville hosts John Hay in what could possibly be playoff game. Both teams looking for, a spot in the playoffs. And it's got big playoff implications on the line. And, from what I'm told, there's a possibility 3 Senate teams could actually be in the state playoffs this year between Glenville, Hay, and Rhodes. But, I'm hoping, that is the case. But, Glenville and Hay, there's a numbers game there, and Glenville's got the slight edge. But we will be there for that game this week. That Bump Taylor game kicks off at 3 p.m. It's the last one of the regular season. So if you have not saw any Senate League games, you can check them out on our YouTube channel, or you can watch this one live this week at 3 p.m. We also got the city championship, but we do not know who's in that game just yet. We will know after this week because that game is actually, I believe, next Thursday. So
already that time of year, man.
Oh yeah. While we're thinking about that, part 2 some news. The Cleveland Classic Gaming Convention will be November 13th. It's a Saturday. As the Tecmo Bowl tournament is coming back. It's not going to be virtual. It's going to be live. Cleveland Classic Convention, Cleveland Gaming Convention. Shout out to Tom Jenkins. He's the operator and the owner of the tournament. And, we'll be there covering that. I hope I have a better showing than I did 2 years ago. I don't know, but I know I was the man in NBA Jam till I got to the semifinals. But that Tecmo Bowl tournament, is real, man. I've been practicing, but these dudes is real, man. Look. But you can also get your tickets online at clevelandclassicgamingconvention.com. If you use our promo code 4th&15, you will save yourself a couple of dollars. We will post that again on our Facebook page and our Twitter. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. Outside of that, it's been a great weekend. It's a great weekend for football. Oh, shit. Seattle just scored in 17-14 right now. After Pittsburgh got the field goal, here comes Seattle. They sorry asses, but I ain't gonna worry about it. It is what it is. They win, they lose, they lose.
For sure. I think they still got a chance, though, man. Gino unpredictable. We'll see.
That's true.
Only thing helping him out is there's not a whole lot of film. That is the only advantage I see in this matchup. That's always a weird. Hey, we've been there, man. We've been on the field. We've been in the film room. We know that is a strange thing to prep for.
It is.
It's weird.
And the Dodgers have taken a 4-2 lead.
Ooh.
Top of the 7, 2 outs is 3 on. Let me check the game cast really quickly. This will be our last update. I do know we talked about it earlier. The Dodgers really got to pull it out. So, if they overwhelm Atlanta's pitching, this is what happens. So,
and this might be the comeback they need, man, because you figure we're looking good in that 5th inning. That 5th inning was long.
It's the top of the 7th, 2 on. They scored 2 runs. They are still up at bats, 2 outs, and they have, I believe they got 2 on base.
Yeah, Atlanta playing
this
timid.
correctly.
They took a step back for some reason.
Yes,
I wonder why.
They have a runner on 2nd and 3rd, so they're looking to overwhelm They're looking to overwhelm Atlanta.
Uh, mm, mm. You know, they may have waited too late to make that switch to rotation, man. It's
Hey,
always a gamble because, you know,
yeah,
Dodgers
it
went
is.
ahead and did it in the fifth. Did they have
Yeah,
to pull due in the fifth?
right now
Mm,
Jackson is up. He's a right-hander against Kelly. Well, no, he's against Pollock. Kelly's on deck, so he's up in there. He's
yeah,
up in. Well, actually, Pollock is up in the count. He's a ball in. So
that's
we'll
just good
see.
coaching. That's all
Yeah,
that is,
that was a great
man. Because, you
strategy.
know, you, because when I saw them pull that guy in the fifth, I'm like, why are you pulling him right now? It makes sense. Now it
Now it
makes
makes sense.
sense.
Yeah, now it makes sense.
And guess what? If they got to use him again, you know, further down the series, he gonna have a,
He gonna have a fresh
you
arm.
know, more of a fresh arm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. It just hit me. Damn. Strategy, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Dodgers doing the Dodgers again.
Yep. All right, folks. Like I said, don't forget to check us out on YouTube this Friday for the game of the week. Keep track of our Facebook page. Go like it. Go follow it. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Check out our written content on 216 Sports Network at blogspot.com. And just stick with us, man. I told you, we've been working. You see it. For 4th and 15, I'm Mel. That's Smooth. Peace.